All right, friends. Who's ready to get into John chapter 9 this week? We are cruising through the life of Jesus. We are cruising through the life of Jesus. Morning from Africa. And actually, for most of you, into your future. I am coming at you back to the future. I am calling you from your tomorrow. Good morning from your tomorrow. Hello, Jesse. So weird when I say that. Talking you from your tomorrow right now. Morning time in Africa. Hello, Kim. You're America as well. So, yep. I am seeing your messages from your guys' yesterday, from my yesterday and your tomorrow. Wild. Yeah, totally. I think we're going to read about what the future holds a little bit. Healing and joy and all that stuff. Hello, Rick and Pam. Well, since we've been the consistent ones, I'll reveal this. You probably, I don't know if you figured it out or not already, but Rick and Pam are actually my parents. They love getting in the Word of God. It's always weird calling them Rick and Pam on here, but reaching a bigger audience, I have to just assume that people don't know that. And it's good that they don't actually, probably, but yeah. All right. Kim says hi to all of you. If you're not reading the comments, she said hi, friends. So fantastic. All right, we're going to be in John 9. Hopefully John 8 blessed you. I'm going to ask you a little bit different question just to get our brains going a little bit. I just fed my puppy, so I think my dog's going to be all right. We will see. The biggest thing I've been more concerned about is actually that the rain's been so hard the last couple of days, and I've heard thunder in the distance, so I'm not sure how the power is going to do. But I want you guys to know that if for some reason this cuts off early on, just hang tight. I'll chuck the generator on and make sure we finish John 9. We're going to read the whole thing because it's really just one story, and it's worth it, I think, to read just the whole context of the one story. All right. So here's a different question for us this week. So how has your week changed or not this week? Just, I'm asking as someone from that has peace with people that have been reading about Jesus. So I'm pretty sure most of the people that I'm engaging with right now, at least until they get on, are believers. But for the sake of future, if people want to comment, like, how has your week changed in anything since consistently reading John this last week or two? I know a whole week's passed already. And so this is what I mean. Have you felt your fear increase or decrease the last week? Have you felt your joy increase or decrease? A big one would be peace. I should have added to that. Has your peace increased or decreased? How has your week changed or not changed since last reading? Let me get this, share the screen here too. I'm assuming audio is good because you guys have answered on the chat messages. Jesse said the week has been good. If you guys haven't seen this, comment. A lot of economic uncertainty at the moment, but my trust is in Jesus. Yeah, I've been hearing that a lot about Canada. It's good for a certain dad on this phone call actually to see that. Jesse lives in Canada, Dad. So there you have firsthand on ground boots situation of someone saying that. And so thanks for sharing that. Closeness to Jesus more this week, talking to him more. Okay, so not sure if that's Rick or Pam, but allude to that just a little bit more before we start reading. In what way? What has that done for those things I mentioned? So like maybe you haven't even thought about that yet. Fear or joy or peace. What has that done this week that's a noticeable change? I should probably throw myself out there too in this because I'm in the posture of trying to help people hear God and help people draw close to their God purpose and stuff. Sometimes it can seem like, I have all the answers or whatever. And like, I must just always be in the right rhythm, but it doesn't take a lot for little things to throw you off. Like having a little puppy and most of your family likes to sleep in, or, doing something out of your element. Like, I'm helping build this clinic for my wife out here in Africa, and I'm not really a builder. I'm capable. Over the last 25 years, I've learned things on YouTube and from construction people, but it's not my natural bent. It doesn't give me energy. In fact, it gives me frustration most of the time. And so one thing I noticed this last couple of weeks is that I'm a guy that is still in the Western mindset of time can control me, which the Lord's been working on for a decade. And I love to sit still, and yet I don't love to sit still. And so especially in this culture where the culture is a lot more slow paced, if people come up during the day and they just want to interrupt and say hi, or they want to have some kind of a chat that has nothing to do with your day, which is very not abnormal for Africa, I may be like, just kind of like quick and sharp. And I've noticed that even when people are doing things that are weird, that I have to tell them, hey, why did you do that? On our property or whatever, whether it's a kid or an adult. I find myself being a little bit more loving this week, just having a little more empathy to them as people versus the situation. An example of that is yesterday I went out to the clinic to check on something at like 8 a.m, which is not abnormal either, but I don't usually go out for the reason I did. And as I was going out, the grass, because of all the rain, has grown really, really thick in our front yard of our property. And we're in a bush type village with dirt roads and stuff. So just picture rural Canada, Alaska, like that. And, it's not streets and stuff for at least half a kilometer by my house. And I noticed 3 people, 2 women, one in Muslim garb with a baby on her back, one younger and pregnant, and a guy that I couldn't see his face sitting on a motorbike on the road. Usually what that means is they've stopped to either rest, buy something, do something. So I knew culture that was going on, but 2 of them, the 2 women, were in my front yard in the grass, cutting down tree branches, not big ones, but still, without asking. Like, they're just in our property doing this. And that's something that kids would do, not adults. And I hope you guys are okay with this story, but it relates to the first question. And I this anger in me, because this is one of the big things I don't like about the culture here, is the thievery that, sometimes when they're in a posture of stealing and they don't even see it, or they don't get it because in the moment they're just taking what they need. But the guy called out when I said for them to stop doing what they're doing. They froze. They're on somebody else's property. The guy was shouting from the motorcycle, and I basically told him, hey, if you have words, come here. And so he did. And I noticed he was about 22, something like that. And the wife, who I found out was the wife and pregnant, she's probably 19. And then the older sister's in her 40s probably. And they're headed to town for something. She had her purse on. And I basically just started to light into him. I'm like, are you guys thieves? I'm like, do you guys realize that because you're on the white guy's property, like, you're just assuming you can stop and take what you want. And like, if I wanted to, I know the village chief. I could literally just take your motorcycle keys. I could walk down the village chief. I could have a meeting and I could have you put in jail. And instantly the fear on this guy's face rose up. And in Africa, it's really hard to see with body language, very hard to see. But he had that posture of when you want to cry, but you're not. And I instantly went, oh man, I need to pull this back, because I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that to someone. I was trying to just startle them so they wouldn't take off running. And I went too far with it, and I mean, it was honest. I could have, but I instantly, when I saw that, I said, okay, I don't want you guys to run. You're obviously scared. He said, yeah. I said, I'm not going to do that. In 10 years, I've never done that to someone, but I wanted you to see the importance of that. You guys are acting like thieves on my property. And instantly the older one was like, please forgive us. Please forgive us. And I said, okay, can you guys just hear me out? Just listen, because I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. And I found my tone coming way down. And I literally just explained to them, look, if this was me, they were from 3 villages out. If this was me and I did this on your property, and I actually talked to her as a Muslim too. I said, what would have happened? And they're like, they would have stopped you. The villagers would have grabbed you. I said, they would have probably killed me. Like, it's not unheard of at that extreme, especially among her circles. I said that they would have just killed me, especially over thievery during starvation season, which we're in right now. And I just found myself the joy of the Lord just from being with you guys during the week and some other things I'm doing, engaging in the word, that I was like, I can just teach them a parable. And afterwards I was like, hey, do you see my heart in this? They're like, yeah. I said, okay, it's forgiven. It's gone. I want you guys to just see that as neighbors, we have to look at each other the same. Because that's how I look at you guys. And they're like, okay, thank you. And I said, please, take as much wood as you need, because like the trees are like awesome here, but just notice what I've done for the culture. Like, there's a big gazebo in the front of my yard, like everybody else. You could have sat down. You could have said, greeted me for the day and said, hey, we're in urgency mode. We need some small wood for fire. Can we cut some down? And I would have said, yeah, welcome. Take what you need. And it was such a good exchange. And lately, the last 6 months, 2 years, it's been hard to do that. Like, because of time, because of being here so long, because of not having people to bounce off the truth of scripture and things in English, sometimes you can get very defensive because they're taking advantage of you, or the spirit of them thinking that other strangers outside are taking advantage of them just kind of lingers in the air. So long story, but that's how it's changed me. I really felt the joy of the Lord for someone this week, that were actually would have been considered my enemies. I mean, I told them, man, in America, man, this would have not gone down. Rick and Pam said, I have a mixture of fear, but then claimed peace right after, faster than in the recent past. Okay, so you engaged your spirit quicker. That is a big deal. Kim said, this week, God has shown me little ways. He's speaking to me. My other Bible study had us come up with a word, and mine was watch. He has shown me many, many times that I can hear him and he is with me. That's really good. So you guys, if our weeks change into that, they change into where we can actually watch and hear him speaking to our spirit, then chapters like what we're about to read are going to make sense. All right, let's do this. John chapter 9. We just came out of that amazing chapter in John 8, which is blowing my mind, John 8. And John 9 goes like this. It says, as he passed by, he saw a man blind from birth. And his disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? I would ask you guys, who sinned? The woman that was pregnant standing there that probably didn't even want to take the stuff off my property? The husband that was sitting on the motorcycle making the women do it? Or the older sister that knew better? Jesus answered, it was not that this man sinned or his parents, but that the works of God might be displayed in him. We must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. Having said these things, he spit on the ground and made mud with saliva. Then he anointed the man's eyes with mud and said to him, go wash in the pool of Siloam, which means sent. So he went and washed and came back seeing. It's a great verse right there, Kim, that lines up with that word watch. My spiritual bells are going off for you. I'm sorry. The neighbors and those who had seen him before as a beggar were saying, "Is this not the man who used to sit and beg?" Some said, "It is he." Others said, "No, but he is like him." He kept saying, "I am the man." Right? You can't fight with a testimony. So they said to him, "Then how were your eyes open?" He answered, "The man called Jesus made mud and anointed my eyes and said to me, 'Go to Siloam and wash.' So I went and washed and received my sight." They said to him, "Where is he?" He said, "I do not know." They brought to the Pharisees the man who had formerly been blind. Now it was a Sabbath day when Jesus made the mud and opened his eyes. I feel like I missed a verse, the most important verse. Sorry. When they asked him that about the sin, he said, Jesus answered, "It was not that this man sinned or his parents, but the works of God might be displayed in him." They brought to the Pharisees the man who had formerly been blind, and now it was the Sabbath day when Jesus made the mud and opened his eyes. So the Pharisees again asked him how he had received his sight, and he said to them, "He put mud on my eyes, and I washed, and I see." Some of the Pharisees said, "This man is not from God, for he does not keep the Sabbath." That blows my mind. But others said, "How can a man who is a sinner do such signs?" And there was a division among them. Just like in John 8, right? There was a division among them. So they said again to the blind man, "What do you say about him, since he has opened your eyes?" The blind man said, "He is a prophet." The Jews did not believe that he had been blind and had received his sight until they called the parents of the man who had received his sight. They asked them, "Is this your son, who you say was born blind? How then does he now see?" His parents answered, "We know that this is our son and that he was born blind. But how he now sees, we do not know, nor do we know who opened his eyes. Ask him. He is of age. He will speak for himself." That was one of the questions I asked them yesterday as my tone went down, as I felt the Lord working in me. I said, "I just want to know, please speak clearly with me. Don't not tell the truth." I said, "Please tell me, why did you choose my house out of all the villagers' house to basically steal this wood from?" And that's what started our conversation. His parents said these things because they feared the Jews, for the Jews had already agreed that if anyone should confess Jesus to be Christ, he was to be put out of the synagogue. Therefore, his parents said, "He is of age, ask him." So for the second time, they called the man who had been blind and said to him, "Give glory to God. We know that this man is a sinner," meaning Jesus. Then they said to the blind man, "What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes?" He answered them, "I have told you already, and you would not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you also want to become his disciples?" I love that. What's so good about this is it's so similar to what happens in this culture. You have the simplest people who can't even read and write, and they are basically saying, "Hey, this is the truth," and the people that are higher up can't handle it. And in John 8, we saw this last week, right? Literally, Jesus kept saying to them, "I'm telling you the truth, but because of your unbelief, you're not hearing it, and you won't know the truth, and it won't set you free." This guy literally is basically saying, and wasn't even there, what Jesus said in John 8. "I have told you already, and you would not listen." Why? Unbelief. They already were saying their unbelief. Why do you want to hear it again? Because they don't believe. Do you also want to become his disciples? He knows at this point that the truth has set him free. And they reviled him, saying, "You are his disciple, but we are disciples of Moses." Remember, the day before it was Abraham, now it's Moses. "We know that God has spoken to Moses, but as for this man, we do not know where he comes from." The man answered, "Why, this is an amazing thing. You do not know." That word "know" is the same as "you will know the truth, and it will set you free." You do not know where he comes from, and yet he opened my eyes. We know that God does not listen to sinners, but if anyone is a worshiper of God and does his will, God listens to him. I love that. Never since the world began has it been heard that anyone opened the eyes of a man born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing. They answered him, "You were born into utter sin," which Jesus said he wasn't. "And would you teach us?" There it is. And they cast him out. I can't tell you how many times these faceless, unable, illiterate people in Mozambique have taught me, and I'm grateful for it. Jesus heard that they had cast him out, and having found him, he said, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" He answered, remember he had said he was a prophet, so this is why Jesus is clarifying. He answered, "Who is he, sir, that I may," look from John 8, "that I may believe in him?" There it is. Jesus said to him, "You have seen him, and it is he who is speaking to you." He said, get this, "Lord, I believe." It all starts right there. And he worshiped him. Jesus said, "For judgment I came into this world, that those who do not see may see, and those who see may become blind." That word "become," I haven't looked it up, but if I hit the tools, I'm pretty sure that's the word "become" from Matthew 4, where Satan says, "Have these stones become bread," an actual transformation, an actual changing of something. And those who see may become blind. They actually turn into something that they weren't supposed to be. Some of the Pharisees near him heard these things and said to him, "Are we also blind?" Jesus said to them, "If you were blind, you would have no guilt. But now that you say we see, your guilt remains." What an amazing moment, spanning probably, who knows, an hour or so, or a couple